Well, the National Association of Academic Technologies, or NAAT, has announced a 3-day warning strike to commence on Wednesday, March 28. The union decided to embark on strike due to the non-payment of salaries to members despite the federal government's approval. Now, President of the union, Nwokoma, highlights that despite numerous engagements with university managements nationwide, there has been little progress in addressing their concerns. Among the key issues raised by NAAT is the non-implementation of approved career elongation grade levels 13 to 14 and 15 as agreed with the federal government. Well, for more on this, I'm now being joined in the studio by the president of the National Association of Academic Technologies, Nwokoma. So good to have you here.
Thank you very much. Good to have you.
I thought that President Tinubu had sometime late last year talked about payment of these 4 months arrears and now taking care of some other issues. How come SANU and yourself, the NAAT, have been embroiled in this issue again? And then we've seen strike threats here and there.
Thank you very much. Just like you said, sometime early this year or late last year, we all were told that President Tinubu has given a waiver or approval for 4 months salary, withheld salaries of all university staff had been approved for payment. And we waited earnestly for the payment. To our surprise, early February, our counterparts, the academic staff, we are paid 4 months of their withheld salaries.
That's ASU.
ASU. We don't begrudge them. Nobody is against payment of withheld salaries to any member of the university community. But what we are saying is, from the reports we got from the assistant to the president, Gallery, he said clearly that this payment was for all university staff. And of course, there are 4 university-based unions, NAAT, ASU, NASU, and SANU. And all of us went on strike at that particular point in time. And then it would be wrong to single out a particular union for payment of withheld salaries for the period all of us were on strike. And till now, NAAT, SANU, and NASU had not been paid any of the withheld salaries. And as we're talking, my own union is being owed the highest in terms of money, and then the months that we're talking about. For now, we're being owed specifically 5.5 months of the withheld salaries.
All right, well, let's put it in proper context. That actually happened during former President Buhari, when he said that the federal government actually enacted the no work, no pay, and ensured that, if you go on strike, you won't be paid. So let's talk about how you have been engaging the government. In what ways have you engaged the Minister of Labor, and what responses have you been getting from the Minister of Labor and then, of course, the Ministry of Education?
Presently now, before some weeks ago, even before the payment of these withheld salaries to our counterparts, we had written to the Honorable Minister of Education. We wrote to the Honorable Minister of Labor and Employment. We also wrote to the Chief of Staff to the President.
Okay, interesting.
Drawing the attention to these issues that had bewildered the university and the work and our members. To our surprise, none of these letters we are responded to, nor even acknowledged. Till now that we are talking, they didn't bother to acknowledge our letters. And that's surprising that a union is drawing the attention of government to inherent dangers, that there may be a strike action, that there's restiveness in the university, and nobody cares. They don't give a damn.
So you think there's preferential treatment to ASU than these other 3 bodies? Is that what you're concluding?
Well, that's not what I'm concluding. What am I even trying to find out is, are there entrenched interests? Are people interested in ensuring that there is no peace in the universities? Probably there are some individuals who have vested interest in private universities, and so they use divide and rule to ensure that at no point in time will there be peace in the university. Otherwise, why will you single out a particular group and pay them, and then you leave the other 3? That's...
Could it be because ASU members are more in number than NAAT
No,
or SANU or NASU?
It's not true. Somebody is interested to ensure that there will be no peace, because you know that once you pay a particular group and leave out the other one, that definitely this other group will also agitate. They have members. This economic hardship, everybody goes to the same market to buy. And our members are complaining, and if nothing is done, and definitely we are going to down tools from Wednesday. We have also mobilized our members that we'll go on protest first on Wednesday all over the country, and then by Thursday, Friday, we'll shut down our services and remove and down tools to draw the attention of government. Of course, if nothing is done, then we'll go a full-blown strike action.
And what have the university management been talking about? I mean, have you been engaging them, the vice chancellors and all of that? The
vice chancellors are handicapped because it's the universities don't pay salaries. It is the federal government that pays salaries.
Yeah, but of course they also manage you. So, I mean, they could help put in a word here and there for you. I mean, so how have you been carrying them along?
Definitely they've been doing that. And also remember that we had a high stakeholders meeting where all the vice chancellors in federal universities and inter-university centers were in attendance. The Minister of Education was in attendance. Acting Secretary of NUC, all of them were in attendance a month ago. And in that particular meeting, the minister told us that this particular approved withheld salaries will be paid across board. Only for me to be here saying that our members are not paid.
And so what will be the consequences of you going on strike within the academic communities? I mean, when it's time for ASU, it looks like students feel more of that than yours.
No, it's not true. The university is based on a tripod. You have the lecture theater manned by the lecturers. You have the library manned by the librarians, and then our members manning the laboratory. So there's no one group that goes on strike that the system will not suffer.
So what's your major appeal to President Bola Tinubu at the moment?
My appeal is that something has to be done and done urgently, because it is very unfortunate that we are going back to 2021 where schools are being shut again because of payment of salaries or withheld salaries on one thing or the other. So my appeal is that the president should find out why did he approve that salaries, withheld salaries should be paid. Is somebody sitting on it? What is happening?
And where's the minister in all of this, Professor Tahir Mama?
I thought he was in a meeting with us, and he promised us that these salaries will be
even
paid.
in your statement, you mentioned it, that he insisted that the president's order will include NAAT, NASU, and then, of course, SANU.
Of course, even after that, we have also written a letter to him, which I'm saying here, that it was not even acknowledged. Our letter was not acknowledged.
All right, now talk to us about how members in NAAT have been coping with the present economic conditions in the midst of this non-payment. At least you've had regular salaries for some time, but it's just that this arrears of 5 months, you said, is
yeah,
what
5.5 months.
5.5 months is what you're actually contesting at the moment.
Well, for now, that is the 5.5 months seem to be the thing that is in vogue, but that's not the only problem we are having with government. Like you even said when we were starting that, before we suspended the strike action in 2021, we had an MOU with government that the circular will be released for our members to be able to go to 14, 15. I'm telling you that till date, nothing has been done. And as we're also talking, federal government is owing our members 7 months of occupational hazard allowance. Recently, you saw what happened in OAU, where our member was killed by a lion. That's the risk, that's the hazards our members face in the course of their jobs. And that young man has died with federal government owing him 8 months or 7 months of occupational hazard allowance. That young man has died with federal government owing him 5.5 months of backlog of salaries. And these are the things we have been appealing to government. And then it's also surprising because the same federal government told states that the volume of money that is now coming to their sharing at FAC is now higher, that they should be able to settle the bills with pensioners and workers. The same government is owing university staff. The same government is not working their talk. And that's
All right.
unfortunate.
I mean, shouldn't you play some little bit of politics here? I mean, lobby ASU to actually find out how they did it, that President Tinubu is actually paying them and he hasn't paid you.
Of course, well, like I said, it could be that there are entrenched interests that do not want peace in the university sector.
Yeah, so you lobby. I mean, why don't you lobby to actually see how those entrenched interests could actually, work for your favor? I mean,
definitely, we've been lobbying.
Okay, interesting indeed. But as we try to round up this conversation now, talk to me about how NASU, SANU, and the NAAT could actually partner together to draw attention to the federal government more. Because you are going on 3 days warning strike,
yep.
But I think SANU is saying 7 days or something like that.
SANU and Jack of SANU and NASU started.
I know they held a press conference.
Yeah, I think they started yesterday.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so why don't you see how you can all partner together to actually draw the attention of the federal government more? Yeah,
we always work together, but remember that there's a Jack of NASU and SANU, and then there's NAAT. These are all autonomous unions.
And where is the Minister of Labour in all of this discussion? I mean,
well, there's no substantive Minister of Labour as at now, but then there's a Minister of State, yes.
Yes, so how much support have you been getting from her? Have you been called for a meeting by her and all of that?
Well, she has not done that, but just today we've been informed that we are being called for a meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
But until that is done, we're still where we are. But this thing can be stopped. If government pays us tomorrow, then there will be no need for anybody to protest or go on strike or anything. And what's difficult about paying members that have long waited for this? What's difficult about that?
Well, you won't understand, because being in government means that the government will also have to go and source the money somewhere, and we're facing an economic
These things we are budgeted for.
Yeah, so if it was budgeted for, how come you're not engaging members of the National Assembly to actually see to the effect that those budgetary provisions are cash-backed?
Well, maybe that's our next point of call, the National Assembly, because as of 2023, where we were promised that there will be 25% increase in our salaries and 35% for professors, where we were promised that even our LOU, that 50 billion naira has been earmarked for our end allowances. My brother, till now, that thing was captured in 2023 budget. And I'm saying that up to today, 7 months of occupation hazard allowance owed to our members is not yet paid. And these things were all captured in the budget.
Well, these are interesting times ahead for you. But as you begin to go on this strike too, are you thinking of your students? I mean, because of course, I mean, they are also a key stakeholder in this conversation.
Yeah, definitely. I know. My own children are in the public universities. And so I'm also a critical stakeholder. But think about them. But where you are pushed to the wall, what do? That's the only way to react and draw the attention of government. Just as we have written them, we're also calling on well-meaning Nigerians. We're calling on stakeholders. We're calling on government, anybody at all, to please prevail on government to do the needful.
And one interesting thing here also is that the federal government is thinking of revamping universities and so on. And I'm thinking also, how have you been supported in terms of equipment to do your job? I mean, you work as technologists. What sort of support have you been getting to actually ensure that your jobs are properly executed in terms of equipment and all of that? Well,
it's interesting. I must also commend government, because we just heard that government is trying to build in each geopolitical zone of the country laboratories of excellence. Of course, it's our members that will man that, but for now, that has not come into being. During the stakeholders meeting, the minister also promised that in very soon that there will be influx of equipment into the universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education, and we commend him for that. But for now, that has not been done.
Okay. We all wait to see how things pan out, but I'm very sure that after this interview and maybe other engagements, the government will actually listen to your cry and maybe meet up with your demands, but we must thank you so much. Ebeji Nwokoma is the president of the National Association of Academic Technologists, NAAT, and we must thank you for joining us here to help us understand the reason why you're embarking on this 3-day warning strike. And we must thank you for always being there for us. Well, that's how it's been for this edition of Arise Primetime. Do join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja. Goodbye and thank you for watching. I'm Summer Sambo.